Hello. If you're seeing this video, it was recorded right after my ban list reaction. I thought I would go through some of the decks I've done in the past and just show new additions to them and like removing cards that have now been banned and how the list affects them. But then also show a new deck that I've really fallen in love with. And I wish I could get to play it better, but you'll see. First off, just to show the, as I called it, Tale of Two Girls, the Azumina White Forest deck isn't any different. Like, it's the same deck that I've been using for a while now. The Vanquish Soul Canine deck, Stake Your Soul is now a one of, and Raisin's now a one of, unfortunately, so that does screw some things up, but I've filled in the space with, I'm actually playing a copy of Pantera, just because if your normal gets interrupted, she's a special summon you can just kind of do just for free, and she's an Earth. And then the other three copies I needed of cards, I just put more ghost spells in. For Fiendsmith and the Magical Musketeers, it's actually quite nice. I'm even more justified in running three copies of Track now, because now that Lacrima is coming back to one, Tract can use the Musketeer names to get you a musket back, assuming your normal's interrupted. So very, very happy for that. And there is the new Magical Musket card that on summon, you take two Magical Musket cards and either you set them, you summon one to your field, because one of them has to be a monster. So you summon one of the monsters to either your field or your opponent's. You summon one of the monsters, since you have to pick a monster, and then you can set the other card to your opponent's field. So you either set a monster face down on their field, or you set a useless spell and trap because they won't be able to use it. And then he has the same effect so that you can use musket spells from your hand. And use just two monsters, including a Light Fiend. This actually sets up a max on turn 1, which means you can use max to search a spell trap on turn 1, or use max to summon one from deck, so it's more extension, but you do have to get into him. However, Fiendsmith can bridge into it, since it is just two monsters including a Light Fiend, so you could use this, summon, the thing I saw was summon a monster, like, I don't know, Starfire, doesn't really matter, depends on what you have in your hand already, summon like Starfire, then go set a spell trap, it can be whatever, to your opponent's field, then turn Starfire or whoever you summon into max to summon one from deck, and then now you can use the spent max and the new guy to make Requiem to continue your Fiendsmith stuff, and you've gotten the effective max on turn 1 for whatever you could need. Quite nice. Onto the deck that I've really fallen in love with, as I've called it Delicious in Dungeon, because a lot of people call it that. It is Mimighoul and Yummy. This deck is one of the tightest extra decks I've had to build in a while. I feel like every card I'm playing I can justify. It just sucks because there's so many other cards I would want to be playing as well. So I'll start with the extra deck. The goal of Mimighoul Yummy is that both of these can bridge into each other. If you can get two Mimighouls, you have full Yummy. If you can get two Yummies, you have full Mimighoul. Because all the Yummies say if you control a Link 1 or a level 2 Synchro, you can summon them. And then the Mimighouls are all level 1s, which means you can use them to make Anima to go into some combos. And I'll show a combo at the end because I didn't get to fully show it, and I'm not fully used to it yet. I think there's a better way to do it. But we have one of Herald of Arclight. It's getting limited anyways, but I would only play one. I was thinking I wouldn't play Martial Metal Marcher, but I learned why you play it, and I'm like, okay, never mind. I guess I will play it reluctantly, and so I can make the Herald. One of each of the Synchros. I'm playing a Zeus, because I have Xyz monsters, a Giant Mimighoul, a Mimighoul Throne, a Ripple Bird. This kind of serves the same purpose as number 13 or number 31, Embodiment of Crime or Embodiment of Punishment, which Those monsters change all monsters your opponent control to attack, and if they can attack, they have to attack like that card. Not that good if you don't have the other copy of the stuff with it, but okay. This targets one and changes its battle position to face-up attack position, or face-up defense position if it was in attack already. And then while it and all monsters you control are in attack, they get 500 attack. And then while all monsters you control are in defense, your opponent can't attack. This card serves two purposes. Number one, it can change your opponent's set Mimighouls to face-up position, which makes them trigger. And two, it is a winged beast for Harpy's Featherstorm, which you can get off of Thrust, which you can activate because you're giving them Mimighouls and making them activate it. This card is how I won one of my games today, because, yeah, it's broken. There is, like I said, the Throne and the Giant Mimighoul. This is just because, any 2/1s gets you into the Mimighoul stuff, because you make Giant Mimighoul, and then that gets you access into Throne. You have the Link Spider for if you get Nibiru'd, you can still play if you have Extension in your hand. 3 of the Snatchy. I could maybe see myself cutting it down to 2, but I don't know yet. I have to test more. And 1 Anima. Honestly, I kind of wish I could run 2, but like I said, I really tight extra deck space, so I don't think I can. I will say, seeing that this main deck is like relatively cheap, like $44 for a main deck's not bad. $50 for this extra is like egregious, but not as bad. And then $12 for Urside, and then $12 for the extra is pretty nice. I think it's one of the cheapest ones I've built, but it's definitely not good. The one issue this deck really has is its lack of hand traps. You'll notice looking in here, it is all Mimighouls and Yummies, and then everything else is Thrust and stuff to get off Thrust, and then Droplet because you can use it going second, and there's sometimes you get a hand where it works fine. But there's not really space for hand traps, and that's a big problem because this deck has a horrible matchup against Dracotail. Because Dracotail can afford to play a billion hand traps, and one of the ones they always play is Droll. So, you get hit by Droll, you lose. But then not only that, Dracotail can Fusion Summon on their turn, and if they do that, you kind of lose, because Mimighoul, for some reason, doesn't have an in-archetype way to destroy spell traps. Like, I really wish they made a Mimighoul that could destroy spell traps. That'd be very nice. And then Yummy does not either. They have the Search, they have the Book of Moon, and they have the Summon. I guess technically Cookie can pop... no, it can actually only pop monsters. So yeah, this deck very struggles with back row. And then Dracotail, pretty much every game is going to set up the Quick Fusion on your turn to bounce at least one card from your field into your hand, and maybe a hand trap that they used earlier. And then they'll pretty much always have their Spell Negate that draws them a card, and their Bounce that also can trigger the card that destroys and draws them a card. So you need to be able to deal with their board and set up a board that can play through basically them playing with a fresh hand. Which, good lord, does that suck. So, the only way I've been able to win against them, it feels, is if I can make Herald so that none of their cards will get to trigger, and then if I can Featherstorm them so none of their stuff gets to work. I think this deck can play a copy of Shifter, although I absolutely abhor this card. You can technically play a copy of Shifter and use it because you don't necessarily need your graveyard for the Mimighoul portion. So you can Shifter yourself to go into the Mimighoul portion and then just try and live with that. but I don't really know. So in the main deck, we've got the one Master. I've got 2 Cookie Yummy, 2 Lollipo Yummy, and 3 Cupsy Yummy. Got 1 Armor, 3 Dragon. I play 2 Slime and 2 Fairy, although I think people usually play 1 of each. But I like having multiples just so I can recur them pretty easily. We got 3. I play 3 Archfiend as well. I think people actually just play 1. Which is like, man, at that point, why are you playing Mimighoul? You're playing, what, 5 cards? That's crazy. Got 3 copies of Maker, 1 copy of Talents, 3 of Thrust, a Call to Buy, since Ash Blossom and Droll suck, 3 Droplet, 2 Yummy Surprise. I don't really like this card. I feel like every time I've seen it, I've never been able to use it well. You either get to return a field spell to the hand, and then put a Yummy field spell face up, or summon a Yummy, but it can't attack, or target 2 Light Beasts and 2 cards your opponent control and bounce them. Like, if I've never am getting this card when I really want it. Just really a shame. 3 copies of Dungeon, I have 1 of each field spell, Featherstorm, and then I play 2 copies of Room. I think if there's anything I would change in this list, it would be drop 1 copy of Room, maybe, drop 1 copy of Slime Fairy, that gives you exactly 3 spaces, and you put Ash Blossom in. But it makes you slightly less consistent. This deck, I will say, I also brick on it a few times. I had a game that I'm going to show you that I don't even know if I saved the replay for Game 3. But in case I didn't, the opening hand was 2 Dungeon, it was Game 3, 2 Dungeon, 2 Maker, and then, like, Surprise. Oh no, it was 2 Dungeon, 2 Maker, and Thrust. I'm like, this isn't doing anything. Because they get the spell negate, my Dungeon's gone, and it's like, okay, I go Maker, and then they can just use the thing on their own thing and blow up whatever I summon, so it doesn't matter. Because both games I have recorded for today are Draco Tail, sadly. God, I hate that deck. But, for now, I will just show the matches. So, here was the first Draco Tail game. I don't think this is against the same person, by the way. I gotta remember to turn that game speed down. Ooh. Okay, so, opponent is going first. We opened Room, Armor, Thrust, Talents, and the spell. This hand, on its own, does literally nothing going first. And that's another issue this deck has. You need to be opening the cards, but you play so much non-engine that does work with the deck, that if you see too much of it, then you're screwed. Because this hand does literally nothing. So they go, Ketu, get the Spellcaster Lady. They're playing King of the Swamp for Poly. I'm like, oh, that's cute. So they use the Poly. So now, I'm going to pause this. They make the big guy, and they send Lupus. I'm like, okay, they're playing K9 as well, I guess. So now they have 5 mana trigger to set something, and they're using the fusion summon of this card to add back the 5 mana and the King of the Swamp. So they set the fusion from deck, and they add back both cards. So they essentially got the fusion for free. So now they reuse the 5 mana, and then they use a Urgula from deck to make the pop. Urgula triggers, sets them the spell negate. Then they use Urgula effect to get back the 5 mana in hand. So now they have 5 mana King of the Swamp in hand, that's all I know. They set 1 and pass. So they have a spell negate, an unknown, a destruction, a quick play fusion that bounces. So I draw, we draw Fairy. Because I have armor specifically, I can actually do full Mimighoul or full Yummy, but not through interruption. So I'd have to be very careful with what I do, and the real big issue is, like, I know what this trap card is. This trap card is the Horn. They would have to Horn themselves, because I can put everything in defense doing the Mimighoul line, which then forces a lot of interaction from them, or use the 5 mana. But the thing is if they do either of those, I am screwed. Thankfully, I think they horribly missequence. So I go Armor, then I go Fairy, because now I have a Mimighoul I can summon her to my field. On summon, they use the Horn to bounce back their card that's a destruction, and then they chain it so that they can blow up my fairy. My fairy gets destroyed, they put back a card and draw. I go thrust, I'm like, okay, I'll look at the hand, so then I'm using this to bait. So then now they put back another card, they put back the trap, and they draw. So now they have 5 cards in fucking hand. I know 2 of them. They have a Femina, and they have a King of the Swamp, and 3 unknowns. It's like, cool, you went first, you've set up a lot of you've set up what? A pop, a bounce, a spell negate, and then now another bounce, and you still have 5 cards in hand that if you use them will plus you. Cool. So now I go the thrust for Maker, and I'm like, I just gotta hope they don't have Droll or Ash, because either of those would stop me, and I know they play them. So go Maker, go Dragon, and Archfiend. Normally I go Archfiend Slime, but in this case I wanted to get Dragon in hopes that I could get the Dragon to my field and set the Archfiend to theirs, but it just didn't work out. So I go Archfiend, they Ghost Ogre my Archfiend, and then they Femina using a copy of Moolulu that they freaking drew to use the guy on field to make... So now my Dragon's going to trigger. This is going to activate to get back the Femina, and Malulu's going to trigger to set them the horn. So then this guy gets negated, which I don't care. They get back Femina for their next turn. So they have Femina, and I think they still have King of the Swamp. Yes, Femina, King of the Swamp in hand is known. And then I blow up their board. Then go, and now, because they've got nothing else they can do besides 1 unknown, I'm like, cool, I'm doing full Yummy combo now. So, link 1 of the level 1s into Anima, use the 2 of them to make Cupsy Yummy Way. Cupsy Yummy Way, this will cause this to come back because 2 monsters sent to the grave at the same time, but whatever. I use Cupsy Yummy Way, and I search Cupsy Yummy and Lollipo Yummy. Pitch the Lollipo Yummy, special the Cupsy Yummy, use the Cupsy Yummy. I think normally you would search the Yummy Surprise, but I'm just searching Cookie. I also should have cookied here, but I didn't. Because if you don't cookie here, then you lose the opportunity to do it, and that way when you go into Marshmallow Marcher, in case they do negate the Marshmallow Marcher with, like, say, an Effect Veiler in this case, then you would be able to still make a Herald or continue Yummy plays. So make this into Marshmallow Marcher. They did Lupus here, probably so it would stop asking them, and because they also didn't want me to banish their guy. So I bring back this, and I was like, why the heck would you do this? Like, when I was looking at deck lists, I'm like, why would you play this? The only tuners are the Synchros. It's because you use the Synchro to make the link. So now I use this to get the field spell, and then I summon Cookie now, and I waited, then go field spell, and yeah, like, I have access to Herald, and I have the spell still, so I can also bounce. I can, like, use the Cupsy that, or the Yummy that summons 2, and then bounce both of those to return these cards to the hand, but that doesn't really do anything good for me. But my opponent surrendered. Game 2 of that, they went first again. And again, the only reason I won that game 1 is because they didn't open Ash, they didn't get Ash or Droll in their opening hand or off the 2 cards they drew for free. And then they very poorly attacked my board. Like, had they just properly sequenced, instead of just trying to cut me off of interactions, like, if you don't, like, I'm gonna make it so that you better have it, then I would have lost. I understand where they're coming from of, like, force me to be in a situation of have it or you lose, but in that situation it wasn't right. This hand would have been much better going first, because the reason I really like Mimighoul is because it shuts your opponent off of Imperm exactly. It also shuts them off of Charmies in like, it forces them to have to activate them immediately so you know what you need to play around. So, like, this hand would have been great because Mimighoul Dragon on its own is full Yummy and Mimighoul. Because as long as, assuming you go Interrupted, Dragon gets you Maker, which gets you, and it doesn't matter what you pick for Maker, because as long as you get the Maker to resolve, you have 2 level 1s on your field now. That's full Yummy. So once again, they go Draco Tail Searcher for 5 mana, then 5 mana effect to use a Magnamut and the Pawn, make the guy that returns, and use the Pawn to set the fusion from deck. Now they have Magnamut 5 mana back. Now use the fusion from deck, using the 5 mana they just added back, and the Urgula. And now they get the Spell Negate, and the bounce. Then use Urgula to get back the 5 mana, and cool. They now have 5 mana, Magnamut, 2 unknowns, a pop, a Spell Negate, and a bounce. Great! So I draw Room. Honestly, anytime you think you're going... I've been thinking, like, keeping 1 Room just because it puts a monster face down on their field during your opponent's turn. It might be worth it to not run Room unless you know you're going first. So, like, and then only play 1 copy of it as well. So that way, if you know you're going to be going second, you don't play it at all because it's not going to help you break a board or give you extension. I am also very, very sad that there is another Yummy, I think it's Marshmallow Yummy, who can be summoned if you have no monsters or if you control all light beasts. And I think on summon he shuffles back Yummy spell traps. Like, I don't think he adds Yummy spell trap, I think he just shuffles them back. But the fact that it's a free level 1 that's in archetype does wonders. So I go Armor to summon itself. Then I go Dungeon to bait the Spell Negate. They pop my Armor. Put back Draw. I go Dragon. They return my Dragon. I'm like, that's fine. I get to put the Dragon on your field and hopefully blow it up. I get Maker. Go Maker. They Ash Blossom the Maker. And I'm like, ugh. So I go Slime, since they have more monsters than me, so I can summon it to my field, and maybe get off to the races. But now they have 5 mana, they use an Ash Blossom that's uselessly in your hand right now, and then they bounce it to my hand. Then I go Dragon to give it to them, and I set Room. Now, honestly, I should not have done what I've done here. I don't know what I could have done properly to stop this. But, like, they have to flip... They don't need their normal summon, number 1. But they have to flip this up if they want to go to attack. So, they're going to have to flip this up eventually. I should have just let them, and then summon something else, because they wouldn't be allowed to flip it up. And none of their none of their fusions are allowed to use a Mimighoul, because it has to be a Draco Tail plus only stuff in hand. So they would specifically have to use Arthalion to return the Mimighoul that's on the board. Which means I could also just wait until they have already used Arthalion, and then they aren't allowed to attack me anymore. But they still set up the Spell Negate, they still set up the bounce, and they get 2 more draws off that, and they're getting all this advantage, and it's just not going to happen. So, they just effortlessly break my board apart. And because I have a monster, their Searcher is also a fusion spell. So, I am doubly screwed, because now they get Urgula and 5 mana, they set both the traps, and they get the pop. And, oh, would you look at that, Bestial Magnamut, just a little bit more, and I am super dead. That's... see. Yeah, even without Magnamut, I was already dead. Now, I did not save this game 3, but I will say, in the game 3, I went first. I had full Yummy combo and full Mimighoul, and they saw that, so they scooped. Here was a separate player, also playing Draco Tail. Once again, I lost. I would like to mention, I played 6 games of casual before this, and I won 5 of my rock, paper, scissors, and got to go first. And then I have yet to win another one again, so I keep going second every time, which this deck can't do. So they go Spell, and they search the normal summon Lucius to get the 5 mana, and go 5 mana. They have 2 Dracos. Now they get to set the fusion from deck, the spell negate, get back the 5 mana. They go fusion from deck using the 5 mana and the Urgula. Then they get to set the bounce, and they get to set that for their next turn. Urgula effect to get back the 5 mana. And it's like, okay, spell negate, bounce, destruction, bounce again, and probably even more because they also have hand traps. No way I'm winning this. Of course, draw this, can't do anything, and it's like, there's nothing I can do. It's like, I can this field spell's dead, useless. Featherstorm, dead, useless. Like, there's so many of these cards that I like having when I am, like, just in the main deck, but they feel so bad because, assuming you do go second, they serve zero purpose for your game plan, and they just screw you. Also, Maker, you never want to see him in the open. Game 2, I got to go first, and would you look at that? It's a like, bearer of ill tidings. 2 sets of 2. So I go Archfiend, set it on their field. Then I go Maker, get Slime Dragon, give them the slime, summon the Archfiend from myself. Archfiend effect, they droll me. And I'm like, well, that sucks, but okay. So I force the slime up, I get myself another slime in a deck, and I turn these 2 slimes into Ripplebird. Now, normally, I could Ripplebird to force them to discard a card, and I get another card, and I draw, but since I already have this, and I can't search because I'm drolled, sorry, bucko, Featherstorm. So he tries to play still, he searches, and then he fusion summons, and he tries to trigger his cards, and get them back, but Featherstorm negates. He goes battle phase, realizes he can't attack, ends turn. I say cool. Ripplebird, trigger that, force him to discard a card already, and give me a new one. He sends the Canine card, and then I can do full Yummy combo, and he quits. And then game 3, looks like I did save it. Look at that, double Maker and double Field Spell. And I'm going second, and this hand can't do anything. So I think I saw this and I immediately scooped. Yep. So what are my thoughts on this deck? Well, going first, it's definitely quite nice. But going second, it is pretty much nigh impossible to win unless your opponent misplays, like, horribly. I really love this deck because there's so many sick interactions with it. Like, I love that both archetypes can go into each other. That means so much to me that you can do that, and I love it, and I really wish it was better. 2, the fact that the extra deck is so tight means that you can change it up for a few things. For instance, I am playing Gravity Controller for one reason only. It is possible to make you go, like, battle phase with an Xyz attack, then go Zeus, wipe the board, but you put Zeus in the extra deck, or the extra monster zone, and assuming that they can't remove the Zeus from the field, you can turn it into a Gravity Controller, and if you have Yummies, you can make Yummy plays. That is why I play the Gravity Controller in this deck. Otherwise, I would probably play a second copy of Anima. But there are some drawbacks with this deck. Number 1, bricking. You want to be able to guarantee you get Maker. That's a thing. But the issue is that a lot of these cards do nothing in multiples. If you have 2 Maker, I mean, that's great if you can make it to your second turn, but likely Yu-Gi-Oh! Games are going fast enough that's not happening. And if it is happening, you've won at that point already. The Maker is not going to make a difference. So, but you need to see these cards. So, like, you need to see the Maker, you need to see the Dungeon, you honestly want to see Thrust, and you would like to see your monsters. But the issue is that by doing so, you don't have hand traps, which means going like if you have to go second, you lose because you have no charmies, which means you have no draws. You have no ashes, which means you have no stopping power, and you have no like I put ghost ogres because then you can't remove their stuff from the field and stop them from doing stuff like that. So it's like, what do you do to combat this? Well, you cut however many monsters you're playing, but or like cut however many copies of some cards you're playing. The issue with that is, cool, now you're really putting yourself in a bad situation because now you have another problem. Now you can brick on hand traps. So a lot of your games are just going to become, cool, did I open nothing but hand traps? If so, cool, you lose. Because these decks don't really have one card combos that are so protected from interruption. Like, at least with the Azumina White Forest deck, right? Droll absolutely destroys Azumina White Forest. But there are things you can do that do somewhat help you play through it to set up some sort of a board. Like, you can make certain decisions if you know your opponent is on Droll that might lock you out of some decisions later. Like, it might lock you out of the Dark extra deck. But it does give you Droll, like, it gives you a board. It's not just, oh, I got hand trapped, I have to pass on nothing, which means I lose. Because sadly, Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't in the state where you can pass on nothing and live. You're gonna die. But I don't know. I'll probably be tweaking this list and maybe making another like video in the future. I've been focused on the Snake Eye Azumina deck, but I would like to be able to play more decks again. I just haven't really been, since I keep going up against nothing but Draco Tail. It's very annoying. But anyways, if you watched this, thank you very much. I hope you have a great day. Remember to drink some water.